Developing news overnight as take a look at the latest headlines with me. Trump has now approved Iran attack plan, but he has not yet given the final decision. Reports say you can see this coming out 11 hours ago. This is coming out today, June 19th, 2025, as we're hearing that Donald Trump has given the approval, but he has not said go just yet. But he has approved the United States attacking Iran. Now, we're going to be seeing where we go from here. There's been a lot developing over the last 24 hours as we had heard that he had given his final warning. Iran said, "We will never surrender." And this is essentially leaving Donald Trump in this final position where he is now preparing to attack Iran. Let's go ahead and take a look at some video footage so you can see it for yourself. And if you appreciate the updates, don't forget, hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. I cite all the sources. And if you appreciate that, they're hyperlinked in the description. Click that like button. Let's take a look at some video footage.
Fox News alert. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that President Trump privately has approved an attack plan for Iran, but has not yet given the final order. Will the U.S. get involved? Should we get involved? And what would it look like? David Burke, retired Lieutenant Colonel, is a Top Gun instructor and Marine Corps officer. David, great to see you. Colonel, you have some experience here. Although we've never dropped this 30,000-pound bomb, what could it do?
Yeah, this would be the first drop in combat, but we are very familiar, a lot of testing with this bomb. This is a massive weapon designed to penetrate deep underground, hardened targets, well-protected targets like the one you're discussing, and take them out.
So you say it's probably, even though we have some options, if you could take a look at this full screen, we're going to use the B-2, and we're going to have, is it going to be one 30,000 bomb per fighter jet?
Each B-2 can carry two. It wouldn't surprise me if you had a single drop from an aircraft, but it can carry two.
I think you were telling me yesterday that the first one penetrates down, and the second one will go into the hole.
Yeah, that's a likely scenario. Having multiple bombs is probably going to be required for this situation. Absolutely right. You've got it.
So, okay, so let's advance. Oh, okay, I can advance myself. I did not know that. You think it's going to hit on an angle, but yet it's going to glide. You said that this is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be the World War II, open up the hatch and it falls to the ground. Describe how it's going to penetrate.
Yeah, this is a smart weapon. It has a GPS antenna in the nose. It has a really good guidance system to get exactly where it wants to be. And this is a massive bomb, Brian. It's 30,000 pounds. Now, not a lot of explosive, but a lot of weapon itself to penetrate into the ground. And that first bomb is going to hit the target, dig deep into the ground, and then detonate.
Colonel, so take a look at this. This, I imagine, is an animation of the bomb going deep. This would be the first one in that scenario. With the second one, know exactly how to get into the hole the first one leaves behind.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough problem. The way you're describing it is exactly right. It's a very difficult scenario, but that, as you're describing it, is exactly what the intent would be, is put that second bomb right through the hole of the first penetration, get deeper into that target, and do even more damage with the second weapon. So,
Colonel, what you said is it'll penetrate about 200 feet. So it goes about 200 feet, but there's about 300 feet of concrete it's got to get through, let alone what the mountain challenges have. So the first one gets through. What's the second one look like?
The second one looks very similar in terms of the glide path. And the way you're describing it, this is what we call weaponeering. This is the professionals thinking about how deep is this target? How deep does the bomb have to go? How many weapons does it need? What's the angle? All those things you're describing is exactly right. This is the problem that they're addressing. And that second bomb, in a perfect world, goes right through the initial hole that the first bomb created and penetrates even deeper into the target to do the damage that's needed.
So where's it coming from? I understand they're not going to be deployed in theater. It's probably going to be coming from the U.S. Wouldn't work for us to tell us exactly where, but one would go get refueled midair. They're probably that situation's in place right now. How many fighter jets you think? How many B-2s you think we'll need?
Yeah, I would not be surprised if you had multiple B-2s. The great thing about that aircraft, this is a remarkable machine. I think the longest B-2 flight is something like 44 hours. So our ability to launch from the United States, if we choose to, or a forward deployed base, getting the target and back is absolutely in the wheelhouse of the capability of this aircraft. And I would expect to see multiple aircraft on this mission.
For a guy that knows how to do these flights, what's the challenge for the pilot?
Listen, there's a lot of challenges. Obviously, anytime you take an American aircraft, American air crew, American systems, and fly into enemy territory, there is risk. The great thing about these B-2 crews, they've been practicing and preparing for this their entire careers. They are more than capable of doing this. This is things they've prepared and trained for. So once the mission starts, they're focused on that. There are certainly risks associated with the mission itself, but these are highly trained, highly capable people that are more than ready to do this.
And just by the way, you told me off camera that it's not something you get the Israelis trained up on quickly. It'll have to be an American pilot. And by the way, it doesn't detonate when it just hits the surface. We decide when it detonates. Colonel, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Great being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for what you do, and thanks for your expertise.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, as we have heard that overnight Donald Trump has approved Iran attacks, but he has not yet given the final decision, the reports say. So overnight he has approved this. Attacks have not yet been done. The United States has not yet attacked Iran, but they are saying they are ready, and Iran coming out and saying this is despicable. In fact, I'm going to play for you the video footage here in just a second. They're saying the only thing more despicable than this is Donald Trump saying that he would take out the supreme leader. We're hearing that right now, though, the United States is prepping. I shared with you that troops were being deployed to the Middle East. That is taking place right now. Things are escalating, and it looks like the United States is ready to attack Iran. So this is escalating very significantly. Now, like I said, if you haven't done so yet, if you appreciate the updates, take a second, hit the like button, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Also, wanted to mention something to you very quickly here. If you're going to be retiring soon and you're worried about rising costs, you're not alone. A recent retirement survey found that 92% of retirees are worried about inflation hurting the value of their assets. And this coming as we're in the middle of war and we could be seeing economic challenges. So for those of you that are already retired, inflation is particularly damaging because of right now being on a fixed income. Seniors also struggle with healthcare costs and retirement, and right now it is extremely difficult. So one of the problems for retirees is Medicare. It is so complicated to figure things out alone, and many people are overpaying for their health care. So that's why today I wanted to introduce you to my friends at Chapter. Now, Chapter's founders, their parents were ripped off in their Medicare, and they vowed to try to get things right. They got scammed, and they don't want anybody else to have that happen to them as well. So right now you can go ahead and contact them. I actually had one viewer reach out to them, and they said that they saved them $1,600. They're not going to steer you in any particular direction. They're just going to see what is best for you. They might tell you, hey, you've got the best coverage, or you don't. So Chapter is here to help. They're totally free. There's no reason not to give them a call. You can see the number on the screen, 984-375-0879. One call could literally save you $1,100. So why not check them out today? They're here to help, totally free, and they'll see if they can help you out finding the best Medicare plan available to you. So if you're turning 65 soon, you got questions about Medicare, give Chapter a call today. Thank you, Chapter, for making that available to my viewers today. So wanted to mention that for you guys. But let's go ahead and get back to what is going on right now. As I mentioned, we're hearing that Donald Trump has approved attacks on Iran, but he has not yet made that final decision saying, go ahead. Let's take a look at this video footage coming out today, June 19th, 2025, as Iran is saying this is despicable, refuting what Trump has to say from the White House on the U.S. involvement. Let's take a look at some video footage.
Here at home, President Trump is considering his options on whether the U.S. should join Israel's attacks on Iran.
Yep, and this comes as Iran says that would make the U.S. and its allies legitimate targets, of course, if they join in this fight.
Lucas Tomlinson joins us now from Washington with the latest. Hey, Lucas.
Good morning, Ainsley. President Trump continues to weigh whether or not to launch airstrikes against Iran. He spoke yesterday at the White House.
They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House, so we'll see. I may do that.
The Iranians say they will not be coming to Washington's mission to the UN, posting no Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House. The only thing more despicable than his lies is his cowardly threat to take out Iran's supreme leader. Iran does not negotiate under duress, shall not accept peace under duress. Now, the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem remains closed through Friday. It posted a few minutes ago, urging U.S. government employees and their families to continue sheltering in place after the largest hospital in Israel was hit by that Iranian Iranian missile. The supreme leader of Iran spoke yesterday for the first time since Israel launched its strikes with a message to President Trump, saying the U.S. president threatens us with his absurd rhetoric. He demands that the Iranian people surrender to him. They should make threats against those who are afraid of being threatened. The Iranian nation isn't frightened by such threats. Of course, martyrdom goes back to the 7th century, guys. Iran's deputy foreign minister says if the Americans decide to get involved militarily, we have no choice but to retaliate wherever we find the targets necessary to be acted upon. President Trump also says he spoke to Russian leader Vladimir Putin earlier this week.
And I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, you know, he actually offered to help mediate. I said, do me a favor. Mediate your own. Let's mediate Russia first, okay? I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later.
So as President Trump continues to mull whether or not to strike Iran, U.S. military assets continue to pour into the region. The Israelis also have a ground option for destroying Fordo, its massive nuclear weapons complex buried deep underground, using elite Air Force commandos from Unit 5101 Shell Dog, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Lucas. Do you have a question?
Yeah, Lucas, real quick. When you talk about our assets in the region, you were just there. Got 2,500 in Iraq. Where are the other targets that Iran would be looking at?
Of course, the U.S. has jets at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Most of those have already been pulled out. You also have fighters in Al Dhafra and in the United Arab Emirates. You also, where those fast movers are going from the United States, those F-22s, F-16s, it's not clear. Some say Jordan. It's not clear right now. But the U.S. has pulled its fleet out of Bahrain. The Nimitz strike group is headed to the region. But there's no question the U.S. is in a very defensive posture right now. It doesn't want to be vulnerable. And a lot of the Gulf allies are taking a lot of heat from the Iranians, saying if there's any attack on Iran from the United States, we'll strike U.S. assets wherever they are, and that includes some of those Gulf countries.
We saw that the largest military base, American military base in the Middle East is in Qatar, and that's where, when Donald Trump did his Middle East trip a few weeks ago,
I was
we
there
saw him
on
talking
with
to
you
the
guys.
troops. That's right.
I was there. Yeah.
And about 400 in Syria. Thanks, Lucas.
Thanks, Lucas.
There you have it, you guys. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, as they said that Iran is saying that they will attack the United States if they are attacked as well. And let me know your thoughts. Are you concerned about that? If yes, put yes in the comments. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts. Now, we've heard the warnings as soon as this war started that Iran was threatening the United States, and there was concerns coming out from the FBI and from other leaders in the United States saying the sleeper cells could be initiated by Iran. We know that there are sleeper cells within the United States, and there is concern, this is coming up now just in the past couple of days, that they could initiate attacks on U.S. soil. Now, the main thing that they're saying that they're concerned about is potential attacks on U.S. military bases in the Middle East, which is specifically what Iran had said, was that we will hit your assets here in the Middle East if you get involved. We will retaliate, as you heard them just say. So there is concern right now about Iran attacking the United States. But a lot of people saying if Iran wants to do that, that Iran better be prepared to have all of the fury of the United States unleashed upon them, as Donald Trump has said they do not want to go that route. But we will see, because Iran is saying that if the U.S. hits Iran, that Iran will retaliate. So let me know your thoughts. I'm seeing yeses and nos pouring into the comments. Some people saying they are concerned about what Iran could do to the United States. Others saying they're not as concerned. But again, the two main things that have been brought up is attacking U.S. military assets in the Middle East, various bases, our troops. Also, the concern about what could happen here on U.S. soil. As we have heard from the FBI over the past couple of years now, the warnings of these sleeper cell units being here in the U.S., and I've shared with you in detail the lists and what they're saying could happen here on our soil. Now, let's take a look at some more video footage coming out today, June 19th, 2025, so you can see it for yourself as we're hearing the warnings of the United States about to enter into this war. And in 30 minutes, it is currently 11:28 a.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. In 30 minutes, I believe they're saying Donald Trump is going to be addressing the nation. Unless I've got my time zones off, I believe that is going to be coming here very soon. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Joining us now with the very latest developments out of the Pentagon tonight, our own Jennifer Griffin is with us. Jennifer, the latest there.
Well, Sean, the president continues to seek assurances from his military commanders that the B-2 option could work in terms of destroying Fordow while weighing what to do next. No final order has been given. It also takes at least 2 weeks, I'm told, possibly longer, for the U.S. military to get assets ready and into position. It's clear that when Israel launched its operation on June 12th, the U.S. military was not positioned for a potential strike. Even tonight, U.S. military forces are still deploying to the Middle East. Flight trackers showed 12 F-22 Raptors take off earlier today from Langley Air Force Base in Virginia toward Lakenheath Air Base in the UK, with expected onward movement to the Middle East. The USS Ford, currently in Norfolk, Virginia, will deploy on a normal rotation next week to U.S. European Command, which stretches to the eastern Mediterranean. The Nimitz won't be in position for another week. In Bahrain, the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet has moved out to sea nearly all of its vessels to protect them from a potential Iranian counterattack. At the White House today, President Trump had lunch with the head of Pakistan's military. Pakistan has a 562-mile-long border with Iran and could be a good staging ground for U.S. aircraft, according to former defense officials. Pakistan has nuclear weapons and, given its close friendship with Iran, could play a role in mediating. The State Department has evacuated the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, but is not positioned to evacuate Americans on any large scale from across the Middle East, potentially leaving many Americans stranded and in harm's way. And we've seen how that's ended in the past, Sean.
All right, Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon tonight. Thank you. Hey, Sean
There you have it, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that we are about to attack Iran? Donald Trump has given the approval. He said, yes, it is approved. He just has not given the final go-ahead, but we're hearing that at any time now, we could see the U.S. strike Iran. Do you think that they are going to attack? Are we going to attack Iran? If you think we are, put a 3 in the comments. Some are saying this would unleash World War III. If you think, no, we're not, Iran is going to step back, or the United States is not going to have to do this, put a 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. 3s or 4s. 3s for, yes, we are about to attack. We are about to go into all-out war. 4, if you still believe that at the last minute here, we're going to be able to pull out of this. Let me know your thoughts. And also, if you haven't done so yet, please take a second, hit that like button for me. Help spread this out while we're live. I see we've got, wow, over 4,000 people with me live this morning. Only 800 likes. If we could get that up to half of the room hitting the like button if you haven't done so yet, please take a second. That really helps out the channel a ton. But you can see the headlines coming out here. Let's take a look at this, and then I've got some more video footage for you here in just a second. You're not going to want to miss, as we're hearing there are evacuations taking place in the Middle East. The U.S. is telling people to get out. This article coming out 11 hours ago. Trump approved Iran attack. Plan has not yet been made yet with a final decision, reports say. Let's take a look at this, and then video footage here in just a second. Donald Trump has approved plans to attack Iran, but has not made a final decision on whether to use them. The BBC U.S. partners, CBS reports. The U.S. president held off from strikes in case Iran has agreed to abandon its nuclear program, an intelligence source has said. Trump is reportedly considering strikes on the underground uranium enrichment facility at Fordow. And this is the one that we're hearing that Israel is saying the United States must step in and help with, because only the U.S. has the bombers necessary, those bunker buster bombers, to be able to reach down and totally annihilate and destroy in full capacity the nuclear enrichment facilities that Iran has. Israel is not able to reach that far down. They must get the help of the United States. Now, Trump said on Truth Social on Thursday that the Wall Street Journal, which carried a similar report, had no idea what my thoughts are concerning Iran. He did not address whether plans had been approved. Speculation mounted about Trump's intentions on Wednesday, yesterday, after Iran's supreme leader rejected his demands for surrender, and we heard them say, "We will never surrender to you." Donald Trump very upset by this, because he felt like this was his last out for them. Unconditional surrender or be wiped off the map. Now, the supreme leader rebuked Trump in his speech, which was broadcast on Iranian television, saying that any U.S. military intervention would be costly, and added the Iranian nation will not surrender. It was the Supreme Leader's first appearance since Israel launched what is described as preemptive strikes on Friday. Iran's mission to the UN also mocked Trump in a post on X, calling him a has-been warmonger clinging to relevance and adding that no Iranian official would grovel at the gates of the White House. Man, let me know your thoughts. They're saying they're not going to grovel at the gates of the White House, but they might be eliminated here very soon. Trump brushed off the Supreme Leader's rejection, saying, "Good luck," but again declined to disclose his plans. "I may do it, I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do," he said. Unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Now, the war of words and speculation about U.S. entry into the war came as Iranians continued to jam roads out of the capital of Tehran, a city of 10 million people seeking sanctuary from Israeli attacks. Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, said in a video on Wednesday that his country's forces were progressing step by step towards eliminating threats posed by Iran's nuclear sites and ballistic missile arsenal. "We control the skies over Tehran. We are striking with tremendous force at a regime of the Ayatollahs. We are hitting the nuclear sites, the missiles, the headquarters, the symbols of the regime," he said. Pete Hegseth, Trump's defense secretary, told a Senate committee that the Pentagon was prepared to execute any order that was given by Donald Trump. His comments came amid a buildup of American forces in the Middle East. A carrier strike group led by the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier was steaming from Southeast Asia to join another strike group led by the USS Carl Vinson, already in the Gulf. Now, various air assets, including refueling tankers, were also seen on flight trackers moving from Europe, with reports of F-22s and F-35 strike aircrafts following. So make no mistake, right now, the United States is positioning. We are deploying our troops, our assets to the Middle East. It looks like in preparation for attacks. Does not look like for defensive things. It looks like we're preparing for attacks. Even though Donald Trump said initially we weren't going to do it, now we're hearing overnight he has given the approval, just saying, "I'm just not sure yet. If we need to, we will see." The U.S. State Department said Secretary of the State Marco Rubio would meet UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in Washington, D.C. on Thursday today for talks expected to focus on Iran. The BBC understands that so far the U.S. has not made a formal request to use the UK's military bases in Diego Garcia or Cyprus to conduct strikes against Iran. Normally, the U.S. would first inform its allies if it intended to conduct offensive operations from those bases. A British source said that it was believed all options were on the table in Washington, but there was no complete picture of America's intent. The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem on Wednesday issued an evacuation plan for American citizens currently in Israel. It was unclear how many Americans were seeking to leave Israel or whether the U.S. military would assist with the evacuation flights. Now, since it launched its attack on Friday, Israel's strike on Iran has ended the lives of 585 people, according to Washington, D.C.-based group Human Rights Activists, which said that 239 were civilians, 126 were security personnel. In retaliation, Iran has fired around 400 missiles at Israel, ending the lives of 24 people, all of them civilians, according to Israeli authorities. Meanwhile, Iranian state TV warned viewers to ignore an irrelevant clip calling for the public to rise up against the regime after an apparent hack of its satellite feed. If you noticed irrelevant messages while watching TV, it is due to the enemy jamming satellite signals, the state TV said. Hackers apparently broke in and broadcast a video that accused the Iranian establishment of failing its own people, calling on viewers to take control of their future. It featured several clips of mass protests against the regime back in 2022. Now, this comes as well as I shared with you that we had heard reports that there was Iranian state TV that had announced that there was going to be some significant event that was going to take place overnight that was going to shock the world and that would be remembered for centuries. And nothing came of that either. So, man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But what we're hearing is Trump has approved the attacks. He said it is time. He is ready. And right now they are positioning all around the Middle East to prepare for war. And I saw tons of threes pouring in as people were saying they believe we are going to attack. Now, I did see some fours. There are those that believe that at the last minute here, we're not going to have attacks unfold, but we will see. Let's take a look at some more video footage updates coming out here today, June 19th, 2025, as we're hearing overnight. It has been approved for the U.S. to attack, to officially enter the war. We're just waiting to see for that final decision go-ahead from Donald Trump. Let's take a look at some video footage.
We are back with a Fox News alert. President Trump is set to receive an intelligence briefing this morning as the violence in the Middle East continues to worsen. Lucas Tomlinson is live in Washington with the very latest. Hi, Lucas.
Well, good early morning, Carly. The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem remains closed through Friday as President Trump continues to weigh whether or not to launch airstrikes against Iran. Here's the president yesterday.
They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House, so we'll see. I may do that.
Now, the Iranians rejected that, saying they will not be coming to Washington. Its mission to the UN posting no Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House. The only thing more despicable than his lies is his cowardly threat to take out Iran's supreme leader. Iran does not negotiate under duress, shall not accept peace under duress. And minutes ago, the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem posted a new message urging U.S. government employees and family members in Israel to continue sheltering in place after the largest hospital in the country was hit by an Iranian ballistic missile. Yesterday, Trump's ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, posting on X, urgent notice. American citizens wanting to leave Israel. U.S. Embassy in Israel is working on evacuation flights and cruise ship departures. And while President Trump mulls whether to strike Iran, U.S. military assets continue to pour into the Middle East. The Israelis also have a ground option for destroying Fordo, Iran's massive nuclear weapons complex, using elite commandos from Unit 5101 Shaldag. Carly?
Important to point out there. Lucas Tomlinson live for us. Lucas, thank you. Israel Special Envoy for Combating Anti-Semitism, Michal Kotler-Wunsch, joins me now, and thank you so much for doing just that. According to the Wall Street Journal, President Trump has approved an attack plan for Iran, but is holding off to see if Tehran will abandon their nuclear program. So what are the chances, in your estimation, of Iran voluntarily giving it up at this point?
So thank you, Carly, for having me on. And I would say the chances are zero voluntarily giving up. And we have seen systematically this genocidal Islamic regime in Iran utilize billions of its resources, fueled by the very same anti-Semitism that saw the annihilation of Jews in a final solution before their eyes, even as the Allies were nearing. That is what we are experiencing now. As you mentioned, the largest hospital in Israel's south was targeted deliberately. And as Iran continues to target civilians, children, people sleeping in their beds, and as we said, a hospital this morning that, of course, services and employs Arabs and Jews side by side, we know that the only mission that they have continues to be not just the annihilation of the state of Israel, the small devil, but the big devil, the destruction of the United States and our shared civilization.
A notable comment from President Trump yesterday on the role Russia is playing in all of this. Listen here.
And I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, he actually offered to help mediate. I said, do me a favor. Mediate your own. Let's mediate Russia first, okay? I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later.
Point taken. And also, a Telegraph is reporting that China reportedly sent mystery transport planes to Iran, and these planes often carry military weapons. So will Russia and China play a role in this? And if so, what will it be?
Look, Carly, we're at this moment, we're an axis of evil, and you have mentioned many of its partners in this 2025 axis of evil that is being emboldened by the lack of moral clarity of over the past more than 20 months of a raging war waged and launched on the October 7th massacre attack of barbarism on civilization. that axis of evil and all of its proxies that they have been placed around the world begins with what we see as a showdown, as the front lines, if you will, taking place right now as we speak with this attack on the state of Israel. But as I said, and as anti-Semitism of thousands of year-old hate teaches, what begins with the Jews, and in this case, the Jew among nations, that is the state of Israel, never ends with the Jews. And so the understanding that it is that lethal anti-Semitism that we have seen a tsunami of in the past almost 21 months since that October 7th massacre, that continues raging and fueling and actually binding together that axis of evil that you have mentioned, that peddle and continue to spread blood libel that actually incites and fuels cold-blooded murder, including in Washington, including in Boulder, Colorado, is something that we all have to be paying attention to as this war of barbarism on civilization continues.
Yeah, and you mentioned Boulder, Colorado. The people there were participating in an event to raise awareness for the hostages in Gaza. And you can't forget them. How do these missile attacks between Iran and Israel right now impact their situation, still being held hostage?
Carly, the devastation of thinking that there are 53 human beings languishing in the terror tunnels and dungeons, that Hamas, but one genocidal terror proxy of that fire ring that an Islamic regime in Iran built over decades, fueling with weapons, with systems, and with the funds for an underground terror tunnel system longer than the New York subway system, is unbearably heartbreaking. The knowledge for these families, and I have to be very clear, that the violation of law and morality in which their continued holding has been sort of received with international silence, false moral equivalency, and impunity, is been in many ways what has emboldened this stage of the war to escalate. And our heartache and our heartbreak cannot be complete until, of course, the return of those 53, those who are alive to their families, and those who are dead for burial in Israel.
We will continue to keep them in our prayers as President Trump says all options remain on the table on how to respond to Iran, and a final decision of his has yet to be made. Michal Kotler-Wunsch, thank you for joining us.
There you have it, you guys. And you heard them say that the final decision is yet to be made. However, we're hearing that overnight, you can see this article coming out 11 hours ago, Trump has approved attacks on Iran to get those bunker busters down into the ground and to destroy those nuclear facilities to stop the enrichment of uranium, which we have heard Iran only needs to enrich their uranium up to 3% to be able to get nuclear power for the nation. They've enriched up to 60%, and in order for them to be able to have a nuclear warhead, they need to get it up to 90%. And we recently heard an interview with Marco Rubio, who said that's a little bit deceptive to tell people it's at 60% and they need to get it to 90%, because to get to 60%, 90% of the work is already done. He said it's just a week or two's worth of work to get it from 60 to 90. He said Iran is essentially at the threshold that they need to have nuclear weapons. If they don't already have it, they might be lying to us. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that Iran already has these nuclear weapons? We heard that when the IAEA came out and said that they could neither confirm nor deny whether Iran is trying to create nuclear warheads. Iran came out and said, we have hidden facilities and we're going to enrich however we want. We don't care what you think. Do you think that they already have those nuclear warheads? And a lot of people concerned with that as well because of the sleeper cells that we've heard the warnings from the FBI are in the United States, and potential suitcase nukes that could be detonated in the United States. That is one of the major concerns that we had heard a lot of people vocalize about, as the FBI had warned of cities all over the nation that they know have these groups that are waiting to detonate attacks against the United States. Let me know your thoughts. Yes or no? Do you believe that Iran already has nuclear weapons? Let me know your thoughts. But we have heard that Trump has approved Iran attack. But right now, the final decision awaits. Are we going to be going to war? If you think so, put a 3. If you think no, put a 4. Let me know your thoughts. And if you haven't done so yet, take a second, hit that like button. Now, also, I believe that in 10 minutes, maybe, I'm not sure here, if depending on the time zone, I got to double check. President Donald Trump is supposed to address the nation as well. And we are waiting to see, we believe that he's going to be discussing Iran. We might be going to war here. There might be an official announcement. We will see. If he does do that, that would be interesting to see him make that official announcement and then do the attacks. Or my guess would be they would do the attacks first and then say, oh, we're going to war. So that way Iran is not notified and then can prepare themselves. I'm not sure. We will see. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and watch that. I'm going to take a look at it, and I'll be sure to report back to you here on the channel, whatever comes out. If there are updates as they come out, I'm sure there's going to be updates here. I'll let you know. We could be looking at here very soon the United States attacking Iran, and then Iran is threatening to attack the United States back. So we will see. I will keep you up to date here in the channel. And again, if you appreciate that, take a second, hit that like button. I see we've got well over 5,000 people with me live. Haven't quite hit 2,000 likes yet. If you could do so, helps while we're live. I appreciate that a ton. I see somebody saying World War III. Yes. Blue Moon is saying yes. Well, I'm seeing threes pouring in as people are saying yes. We are going to go to war here very soon. I see Tibby saying, I voted for Donald Trump because I trust him. And let me know, are you glad to see Donald Trump right now in this position rather than Kamala Harris? If you are, drop a 47 in the comments, hit that like button. And again, like I said, stay tuned to the channel. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button because I'm going to keep you up to date as more comes out. I actually saw, I think it's like 60% of the viewers here on the channel aren't subscribed. Subscribe. I do daily updates, keeping you up to speed on everything. So hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date. That is the latest, you guys. A lot unfolding overnight. And as more comes out, I'll be sure to share. And look at those 47s pouring in as people are saying, yes, they are glad Donald Trump right now is guiding the United States and not Kamala Harris. So stay tuned to the channel, guys. I'll keep you up to date on everything. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. God bless.